What's going on, everyone? So tonight we're taking a look at the Kyoto Amazing Yamaguchi REVOLTECH Venom. Yes, that's right, REVOLTECH. I know how many of you feel about REVOLTECH. Ugly, loose, floppy joints that don't blend in well with the figure. But you either hate them or you're okay with them. And since I'm in the latter, and I'll be continuing doing reviews on this line, especially with Spider Gwen and Wolverine coming out very soon, I thought I might, just get this over with first. So Venom here is number 3 in the series, with Deadpool and Spider-Man coming out first before Venom, and surprisingly being pretty popular and warranting a reissue after selling out in their first run. So looking at the packaging, we get a big clear window at the front, so you can get a clear view of Venom there. The Amazing Yamaguchi logo up at the top. Yamaguchi is the sculptor of the series. We have an action shot there on the side of Venom, some comic style panel art on the corners that carries over on to the side, and on the other side we have another action shot here of Venom. Moving on to the back, again some comic style panel art design with Venom showcasing his superposability, his optional parts here on the bottom right, the Venom logo at the very top there, and just a brief description in Japanese: "We are Venom." So before I begin, and because I always forget, I forgot with the SH Figure Arts Street Fighter series and Storm Collectibles Street Fighter figures as well, Venom actually comes with a nice carded backdrop of Venom. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but this artwork looks like Ramos's work. I don't know, please let me know down in the comments below. Don't kill me if I'm wrong, but it does remind me of Ramos's work, which the figure reminds me of a little of as well. So the first thing you notice about Venom is that he's a pretty hefty figure. You're getting a lot of figure right here. Venom stands at about, from the tip of his head, just a little over 17 centimeters. So like I mentioned earlier, this version of Venom, I can't really pinpoint exactly which artist this Venom is based on, but looking at the proportions, the heavy, bigger upper body, the huge underbite of the jaw, it kind of reminds me of Ramos's work. And comparing him to the Marvel Legends Venom, the most recent Venom, which is more of a Bagley interpretation, I think, and they stand about the same height, Marvel Legends being a tad taller, but in terms of mass and weight, there's just a lot more figure to the REVOLTECH. The sculpt itself is extremely detailed, with all the muscles sculpted in, all the veins running through his body. You can see it on his shoulders, on his chest, going all the way through his legs. He's got tendrils, and they were very well sculpted as well, on the shoulders and on the arms. His fingers as well, very claw-like, and his feet actually have pointed toes. Just a really detailed, really well sculpted, very busy figure. The head sculpt also has a ton of detail, on the forehead, all those wrinkles going through the eyes, even on the mouth, you get all those teeth that are all sculpted in the inside of the mouth, right at the bottom there. It's all sculpted. I know it's kind of hard to see, but at the top of its mouth as well, inside right there, it's all sculpted and painted and washed to bring out those details. It's really well done. Really, really detailed. Looking at the paintwork, Venom is painted a shiny, bluish, purplish, almost black color throughout the whole body. We also get some paintwork, like I said, in the teeth and the mouth, which is washed to bring out the details. The Spder logo, Spder symbol on the back is sculpted and painted. Really nice white. And it's also painted and sculpted on the front as well. The joints are actually a really similar color, almost the same as the body, except it's a matte finish. So, you know, when you're posing him, it does blend in with the figure quite well, more so than Spider-Man and even Deadpool. I think it's because, you know, everything is just all one solid color. So looking at his articulation, I just want to mention before I go any further that, you know, it's not your typical Marvel Legends figure, so you're going to get joints and points of articulation that don't move, you know, traditionally in the way that you're used to. But, you know, after getting used to it, playing around with it, knowing the limits of what each joint can do, you can definitely pull off some super dynamic poses. For the head, you can move Venom's head up that much, and he can actually move down because of the neck joint quite well. So it's almost, you know, 90 degrees, almost perpendicularly flat. The cool thing about Venom is that you can move its jaw up and down. There is a hinge right there that lets it move up and down, and the jaw piece is also actually on a peg going straight into his head at the back of his neck, so you can actually move the jaw side to side like so, which is a pretty cool feature. You can swivel the head left and right and get it going pretty sideways actually. Something that they included with Venom's accessories is an articulated tongue, and all you need to do is grab the tongue piece, which comes separate, and plug it into that hole right there. So now you have Venom's tongue, and you can use it and pose it any way that you want. So for the shoulders, here is one of the joints that I am definitely not familiar with. It's I guess half or a part of the shoulder blade that actually moves. It's on a swivel right here, and it moves down so you can bring the arm in, and it moves up so you can bring the arm out like that. It's definitely very interesting. I don't know how I really feel about it, but it lets Venom pull off some really cool, really dynamic poses. So, and you know, it really isn't that noticeable. There is a gap right here when you actually bring in the shoulder blades in like that. But when you have him when you actually have the shoulder blades back up in the normal position, Venom can't actually bring his arm down. So you have to bring the shoulder blade down to bring his arm in like that. He has a Revoltech joint in the upper shoulder, so you can get a normal full 360, although it is on an angle. You get another joint here in the elbow, so he can move his arms all the way in. He has another joint in his wrist, so in and outward movement, as well as a swivel, and he has articulated fingers. His first two fingers, his index and his middle finger, they are individually articulated, while the last two fingers are stuck together, and you get an articulated thumb as well, which is a small Revoltech joint. So it can swivel and it can move in and out like that. So for the torso, Venom gets a upper torso and a lower torso joint, and you get side to side on both joints pretty well, but where Venom really shines is his crunch, and you can crunch him really far forward, not too far back, but those two joints lets him go down really far. Looking at Venom's leg articulation and the lower part of his body, again, here is a joint that I'm not really familiar with. There is I guess there's a swivel inside his thigh. It kind of looks like a traditional thigh swivel, but it doesn't swivel side to side. It swivels outward, and that's Venom's, I guess, outward kick joint right there. So he can kick forward, just normally like that, but if you want him to kick out, it kind of swivels right there. For his knee joint, they didn't actually use a Revoltech joint. I don't know why, but it's just a normal single jointed hinge, and it gets better than 90 degrees. I wish they'd use more of these joints because they look a lot cleaner. You have a Revoltech joint for the ankles, and he gets really well back for his feet, and pretty good forward, and he also has a hinged toe joint as well. And because of the Revoltech joint, he also gets some ankle pivot. So for accessories, Venom comes with, I showed you just earlier, his tongue, which I guess you can call an accessory. He also comes with 2 sets of tendrils. You get the longer type with kind of a bladed tip, and those are painted the same color as his body with some silver highlights at the end. And you get a shorter version, again with a bladed tip, kind of like claws, I guess, and those are painted silver on the tips as well. In addition to that, you also get a additional, I guess you could say, a headpiece for Venom, and a stand that you will probably use quite often because Venom is actually quite top heavy. He's balancing pretty well right now, but I think for some poses you'll need the flight stand to keep him in that pose. To swap out the head, all you need to do is take off the face cap, and he actually looks kind of like a xenomorph without his face cap on. And you take the other face cap and just plug it onto the top. For his tendrils, Venom on the back, on his back he has 5 portholes. The middle one is, I guess, for the actual flight stand, but the ones on the left and the right, you can actually grab the tendrils and stick them in like so. And it just depends on you how many tendrils you want to put in. I'm going to put them all on just for the sake of this review. And once you have them on, they're actually articulated in the middle, all having a REVOLTECH joint, so you can pose the tendrils as well. So in addition to having the tendrils on Venom's back, you can actually separate all the tendril pieces and kind of connect them, because they all use REVOLTECH joints. Kind of plug them into each other to get a kind of extended tendril piece. And what you can do is you can get Venom's hand, take that out, and actually plug it in, so it's like he's, you know, shooting out the tendril from his hand like that, you know, which adds a lot of playability, some extra display options. And because they're all the same, they use all the same REVOLTECH joints, you can actually grab Spider-Man right here and do the same as well. And it looks kind of funny, but you can attach Spider-Man and have him with a symbiote tendril piece for an arm, or whatever you want to do with it. No! Okay guys, so just my final thoughts on this figure. So REVOLTECH chose a really style specific look for this figure. So you're going to be familiar with this version of Venom, or you're not. And the same can be said about the way the figure is put together as well. You know, you're going to either hate the REVOLTECH joints, or you're going to be okay with them. And for people who are already into the series, who have Deadpool, who have Spider-Man, overall, you know, this one's a winner. You know, for the size, for the mass, for the weight of this figure, it's actually pretty sturdy. It is a little bit wobbly here in the torso, but overall, you know, even without the stand that it comes with, it actually balances pretty well. Again, it has, you know, really superposable joints. You can get Venom into, you know, a ton of dynamic poses, you know, which is what this line is all about. Again, you know, this figure, this line isn't for everybody. It's not everyone's cup of tea. So if you are thinking about getting into it, you know, just be aware that, again, it's not your typical Marvel Legends figure. So there are going to be joints and points of articulation that aren't too familiar with you when you pick it up for the first time. That being said, I really enjoy posing this figure, and again, this is what this whole line is about, you know, having those superposable joints, all the articulation in, you know, all those different areas to get those really cool dynamic poses. I'm really looking forward to Spider Gwen, which is coming out summer this year, and the Wolverine that looks super cool too. With that being said, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up, share, comment, and subscribe. So I'll see you guys next time. Take it easy. Bye for now.